Hey folks, how you doing out there? Welcome to another Drink and a Wink info review, and we're continuing with our PERMASCORZ video. I'm talking fast because I'm told that I need to wrap this one up. No, I'm joking. I'm actually home a little early today, and I felt it would be a good time to do a quick video here. For PERMASCORZ number 3, we've talked about a blended scotch and what was the other one I was talking about? I don't even remember. I've lost into it. And I was like, well, I got to get a single malt scotch here. And we have quite a few what we would consider perma-shelf, or that we'll always have around. This is not, the one I'm talking about today is not the oldest one of our perma-shelves. This might be our second generation, or maybe even our third in terms of what we got into. But from the minute that I bought this, it has stuck around, and there's good reasons to make it a perma-shelf for now, the future, and maybe for yours too. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite single malt scotches, and that's going to be Craigallachie 13. Right here, okay, funky old looking kind of canister for the bottle. This is just a nice Speyside, right down the middle, Speyside 13-year-old single malt Scotch whiskey. I say straight down the middle, but really it differentiates itself from all the other ones, the bigger names that you have heard of in the Speyside region, Glenmorangie, many of the Glens, Belvany and all that, in the Speyside region, because of production, it has a more meaty, heavier character with a great mouthfeel. This was, like I said, was not on my radar in my maybe say first 3 or 4 years of single malt Scotch fandom, maybe even 5. And then I started hearing about this more and more as everyone's perma-shelf, okay, and I got hooked. And now I'm also getting nervous because I thought I had another one around here, kind of in the hopper that I hadn't opened, and now we're getting down to the bottom of this one. So let me tell you just a very little bit about this. So Craigallachie is a very old distillery, and I can't remember the year of it when it was opened, 1870, 1890, something like that. Maybe it's on the box. And they've never had a huge output of, production. They don't have a ton of different types in the range. A lot of them are not too fancy in terms of this and that, the other thing, just age statements, and they just have a house style that's been classic forever. What we want to know is, A, compared to a lot of other single malt Scotch whiskies in this price range, this is elevated a year to 13, okay, which is cool. And the second thing that I like about it is that, well, you know what? Let me go through this first. Let me go kind of in order. So 13, check. All natural and no colorant, check. Somewhere on here. I always like to make sure that it says it on the bottle. This is bottled at 46%. Okay, that's pretty cool. No chill filtering. So it doesn't say anything about color. It does say no chill filtering. That's great. If they've added color here, I don't see it. It looks like a very natural presentation. And it's 13 years old, so that is a typical color for something that has not been had any color added. If it is, it's not much. Like I said, it might be on the website, should be on the bottle, as Ralphie likes to say, but it does say no chill filtering. Very, very cool. This is what's interesting is that some of the distribution for this bottling has kind of changed and moved around. This one is actually bottled or distilled by the Craigallachie Distillery Company, Aberlour, Banffshire, in Scotland. All right. The cool thing about Craigallachie, okay, is that they also have a connection with the Dewar's Company. Okay. So that'll come back later. So now we are seeing this being a little bit more open distribution in terms of we're going to see it in more places. That's great. Now let me tell you about the flavor and the production. So the thing that's interestingly characteristic of it is this is one of these that is produced using what we're called worm tubs. Great name. A worm tub is a very simple concept, but it gives whiskey a certain character that others won't. So when the in the still, when it's coming up and it's coming into the arm, okay, that's where the arm hits usually an outer wall in this pipe that has cold water in it, okay, and that's where the distillate turns from vapor back into a liquid that we're going to drink, right? Okay. How this works, how they do this, is essentially there's a tub, okay, and then there is a coiled line that goes in the tub. And in this case, like many worm tubs, these tubs are actually outside. So while the distillate does not hit, outside rainwater, so to speak, the tube, okay, goes through this tub, kind of spiraling around, and it's worm not in the idea of a little, a worm that you that's my worm, all right. It's talking about worm in terms of like a worm drive in a drill or something like that, or anything that has kind of like a spiral shape, and that's how it works. That's called a worm. So if you see that in your garage door opener, or where else we might see a worm, in many mechanical devices, you'll see this kind of coiled kind of thing on a cylinder. That's a worm. So this is a worm tub because the tube worms around in a kind of a spiral shape into the water. So the vapors come through the tube. When it hits this water, the water is cold because obviously it's holding cold water, just outside water, okay? And that's where it cools down, and this gives this Craigallachie 13 a very heavy mouthfeel, rich. For me, it's just a really nice, big, rich, full flavor. Absolutely transcendent Scotch whiskey. Okay, it has this wonderful little all the things that we want from Bayside Scotch whiskey. A little bit of the oak flavors, a little bit of vanilla flavors, a little bit of some citrus and lemon. But it just has a heavier vibe, heavier mouthfeel that is just so delicious. On the nose, we're getting all the things that I've mentioned, a little bit of dark fruit, a little bit of hazelnut, and on the taste, it's all of those flavors, but never overly sweet. A hint of butterscotch. When you swallow at 46%, that's where you really first get your first tang and kind of tongue feel. So good, or I mean that kind of alcohol, but it's not burn. It's just really zesty. I can't say enough about this single malt Scotch whiskey because it's so balanced. There's some hints of oak, but doesn't get overly oaked like say sometimes some of our single malt Scotch whiskeys in a lower price range can get. Even Glenmorangie, you will get a bump of oak that can really kind of pop through, and it does. Or Balvenie 12 Doublewood really kind of overtakes it. On the very finish, we're getting all the things I want: a little bit of dryness, a little bit of sunflower seed. There's no real smoke per se, but there is a darkness to the end that just I can't say enough about this stuff. It's just so good. Here's the really good news. 5 years ago, I just want to get another cup. 5 years ago, 3 years ago, this was a $60 whiskey. Okay, many other competitors in the 12-year-old, 10-year-old single malt Speyside single malt Scotch whiskeys, some of the peated ones like Lafroig 10, Ardbeg 10, were in that same price range. Okay, Deanston. Pouring something else here too. Now, we flash forward to all this stuff, prices have gone up because of all manner of reasons, not to get political, but they're all political. uh, and we've seen a lot of those ones that were $60 creep up into the $70 price range. This one has crept up not as much, and it's still giving you one more year than the 12, obviously 13-year, 46%. Right now, it's Vinny's price right now is $65. Drinking something else at the moment. I gotta say, right now, if I'm gonna tell you, give me your favorite single malt Scotch whiskey in the 10 to 13-year range. I'm giving it away here. That's the kind of best value for the money. It's going to be Craigallachie 13, hands down. If I'm going to recommend it, if you've never bought a single malt Scotch whiskey right now, and you are willing to go over the kind of starter prices of Glenmorangie Original at now $40, and Glen Fiddick Original at 12, or the whatever it's called, the 12-year-old. I'm going to say, yeah, you know what? Yeah, okay, maybe go there. But if you're listening to me, and I've given you many 10 to 12-year-old Scotch whiskeys, single malt Scotch whiskeys, to purchase in that $60 range, okay, which is kind of what the norm for that price range is. This one is still there, and it's the best of the bunch. And we are dealing with 46% ABV, no chill filtering. I can't say enough of it. The only thing I can say is I'm a little nervous because this is so low. I thought I have another one around here, but maybe not. Also, because of this kind of this larger distributor that they work with, you can also I know at Binny's you can find this oftentimes if you go to the glass case where they will have 350 ml and half bottles and smaller bottles, or you will buy a Johnny Walker Blue, in the 200 ml range or the 100 ml range, all that. You will often see the 350 for Craigallachie 13, which is unique because there's not that many single malt Scotch whiskeys other than the big names, the maybe sometimes, I don't even know what's up there in terms of that. I've seen that quite a bit. I think I bought one for someone once. And right now, like I said, if I don't have another one, I might have to buy another one and kind of just make a mixture. Each batch is going to be a little different because this is that kind of distillery. That's great. And if you are feeling really adventurous, the second best value here is if you want to try something in terms of finishing, check out the Craigallachie Bass Armagnac, which I'm drinking right now. This is the same product, but they do a little finishing after the 13 years in Bass Armagnac barrels. This is one of my favorite whiskeys that I've had. The year that I bought this one, I think I named this like the Distillery of the Year a couple years ago. This Bass Armagnac, I don't want to say it's a must-have, but if you haven't checked out, let's say if you're kind of limit in terms of Scotch whiskey is you have some that are finished in, you've stuck with ex-bourbon or ex-sherry, and you want to try something a little bit adventurous using, a wine. This Bass Armagnac bottle at 46% it's just fantastic, wonderful, highly recommended. Even the better news on that, it used to be, like I said, the 13 was $60 and this was $70. Now this has crept up $5, the standard 13. This one has actually stayed in price, so this one right now is actually $70. Again, if these prices sound high to you, this is the going rate right now. So and if you're going to go with me and say, I want to go with the going rate for a 10 to 13-year-old whiskey, Craigallachie 13 is always going to be on my shelf. Should be on yours if you're a whiskey fan. It's just that good. Absolutely tasty. It is not a peated whiskey at all. So if that's something that you're like, I don't know if I like that, that's not what this is. This is malted barley and a little yeast and some influence from bourbon, ex-bourbon casks. I don't know if they're doing anything else in some other sherry cask at all, or if this is all purely bourbon, but it doesn't matter. It's just so very, very tasty. And I was going to do this to relax, but now I'm kind of nervous because that bottle is really, really low. To wrap it up, the third on our PERMASCORZ on our shelf, Craigallachie 13 single malt Scotch whiskey. Old funky bottle, I love it. The packaging is great. Some of these companies are really changing it up with some really modern stuff. They're just staying like there. Worm tubs, you can learn what worm tubs are, and then when you're out drinking it, you can explain that to people, and people will be fascinated by what you're talking about. All right, it's just so good. Craigallachie 13 Bass Armagnac, one of the best finished single malt Scotch whiskeys I've ever had. 13 years old, really good. Never poured this for anyone, and they've said no. Always yes. So there you go. Cool. Craigallachie, funny name. Don't get confused. There's about 100 Glens. There's a Glenallachie, which I always also love. Craigallachie. Check it out. Really good stuff. All right, Speyside, Craigallachie. I don't have any jokes. I'm not going to be a smart alecky now. I had a good one there. I don't have any jokes. I don't have any jokes. I'm not even going to be a smart alecky.